Welcome to Go For Side Effects. I'm your host, Kevin Simon. You all know my lovely, good-looking, bald-headed co-host, John. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good.
And our beautiful Sarah. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
And Wade, I can't say you're beautiful, but Wade, hey.
Absolutely wonderful.
All right, everybody. So, I'm in a goofy mood tonight, so just bear with me. So, tonight we got United States Army. Yes, I know, another damn Army person on my show. And it's what, 4 against 1? I can take all you son bitches. Y'all get that straight now. Travis, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, you are so welcome, man. Well, welcome to the round table. And we're going to have to rename this group just to let everybody know. So, Travis, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, when you went in, and some of your experiences, why you were in. And then we're going to get into the VA part. And this is where we're going to get into some really good topics because I went Monday and I learned a whole bunch of shit. So, Travis, it's all on you, man. You're in a hot seat.
Sounds good. So I served from 94, was supposed to be till 2002, but of course it took them a year to process me out. So effectively 2003, I was in the Army Reserves and never served overseas. It was mostly peacetime during that time. But I was in civil affairs and our area of operation was the Middle East. And so along comes the anthrax vaccine where the Department of Defense declared that you must take these shots or get court-martialed. And I didn't really see a choice. I mean, I was early 20s, maybe 21, 22, somewhere around there. And so I had the rest of my life ahead of me. And so I took the anthrax vaccine, the series of shots. I think I only actually ended up doing 3 of them. It was from 98 to 99 timeframe, somewhere around there.
Only. That's the key word. Only right. 3.
Only 3. Yeah. And so what's crazy is when I first got the vaccine, I got this really big ball on my shoulder, right? And I could barely move my shoulder. Actually, it was my right arm. And I was like, I went back and I was like, is this normal? And they're like, oh yeah, it's normal. Well, then research later on, it was an actual, it was the first indication I was having an adverse reaction to the vaccine. And anyways, fast forward a little while. And in 2003, I almost died for the first time. The vaccine created an autoimmune condition in me, gave me Addison's disease. That's the most life-threatening thing that I have. Type 1 diabetes, fibromyalgia. I mean, I got a slew of stuff. I'm sterile because of it. And it seems like every few years I come up with some other crazy thing that just pops up out of nowhere. And I've had 3 surgeries on my feet now because my tendons are brittle. I'm growing bone spurs and all kinds of stuff. But so 2003, I almost died for the first time. And this was before we made the connection between the anthrax vaccine and my condition. And they came in and they were like asking me if I want a priest or a pastor. And I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. Right. And so, and then they told me about the Addison's disease and what it was all about and this and that. And so then found the doctor that helped diagnose me to begin with. He actually, I don't know what capacity he worked with the VA. I don't know if he volunteered there. I don't know if he did like maybe VA evaluations or whatever. He had some kind of connection with the VA. And my brother had like a dream or something that my conditions were related to my service, right? And he's like, have you ever asked about that? And I said, no, I just figured I drew the unlucky straw or whatever. And so I went in and I asked my doctor, I'm like, hey, I did some training in Martinique and for 5 weeks there. And I was like, is it something I could have picked up there? And he's like, no, that's not anything you would pick up. And I was like, well, the only other thing I could think of is the anthrax vaccine. And he just kind of stopped like this. And he wrote down on a piece of paper, squalene, and he gave it to me. He said, that's all I could tell you. He's like,
what?
Yeah. And so that's what I did. And I gave the VA like a stack of research like that when I put in my claim. And 13 months later, they pushed it right through 100%. Of course, 3 years later, they tried saying my autoimmune condition was getting better. And so they tried to lower my rating to 70%. So I appealed it. The American Legion helped me out. And not only did I get the 100% back, but I got total and permanent as well. So it ended up better in the long run. But second time I almost died was 2016. And again, from an Addison's crisis. And that was a month before my wedding. So that was really special.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Maybe it was a sign. Just kidding.
Yeah. And, again, they come in and they're asking me if I want a priest or a pastor. And I'm like, nope.
For
I'm
the
not going
second
in.
time. For the second damn. Holy shit.
Second damn time. Yep. And yeah, it's kind of crazy. And I've dealt with a lot of PTSD and depression and anxiety, mostly after the second time of almost dying. And I think it's because the first time it was really slow progressing. Like we're talking, I started having weird stuff happen with my feet, like months and months, right? And actually, the first sign that I was sick, I had like hyperpigmented skin. Like I was brown, like probably central, deep South America brown, right? And that was the first sign. I mean, I live in Washington State. You don't get brown here in Washington State. So, and even if you do, it goes away in the wintertime because there is no sun. And so that was the first sign. But I just thought, I was blessed with like a permanent tan or something like that. And then weird feet things started happening. Then I went for a couple months with flu-like symptoms. And of course, the body only has so many ways to express that something's wrong, right? And a lot of them are the same symptoms for various different things. And so, I was weak, dizzy, vomiting, diarrhea, that kind of stuff. And so the doctors kept throwing me back out on the street saying, nope, it's just the flu. And after 2 months, I got a second opinion. I'm like, look, this can't be the flu anymore. And at the time, I was on crutches because I couldn't support my own weight. And my mom had to drive me in because I'm dizzy. I had to end up moving back with them because I couldn't work. And he took one look at me and he looked at my mom and he's like, have you always been this color? And I was like, nope. He's like, I think you got Addison's disease. And he's like, but I got to do some blood tests to confirm it. And by the time the blood test came back, it was like a day or two later, I think. And he's like, you need to get him into the hospital right now. And my whole body was shutting down. The second time, it was really quick. Like I felt like I had a plugged ear, started getting dizzy. So I thought it was an earache. And I went into the doctor. He's like, well, it may be or not an earache, but an ear infection. And he's like, it may be a little infected. I'm like, well, just send me home with the antibiotics. If it gets, last thing I wanted to do was wait a couple hours at the VA again, right? So I was like, just send me home with the antibiotics. If it gets better, I won't take them. If it gets worse or stays the same, I'll take them. And next day, it started feeling a little better. Day after that, it started feeling much worse. So I started taking the antibiotics. And let's see it. That was on a Thursday, I think. And by Monday or Sunday, I felt like I was dying. And Monday morning, rushed me into the VA, and they had an ambulance come from Seattle to pick me up, to take me up to the Seattle VA because I was in such bad shape. So,
Damn, man, that is some crazy shit. What is Addison's disease?
Yes, thank you. What is that?
so Addison's disease. So you have your adrenal glands, right? And your adrenal glands have an adrenal cortex, which is kind of like a lining around the outside, and it creates a lot of the hormones that your body uses to deal with stress, to control your electrolytes and all that stuff. Well, my body started attacking that adrenal cortex, and once your adrenal cortex is, I think they said 90% gone, you become adrenal insufficient or something like that. And that's Addison's disease. And so basically, I'm on almost 20 different medications every day.
Smoke.
Yeah, a couple of them to keep me alive, right? And then the rest of them to deal with all the other bullshit I deal with.
that the side effects of the other two.
Yeah,
And
the side effects of the side effects, and then you got the fibromyalgia that's coming from this, and then the diabetes, and then
are you on Lyrica for the fibromyalgia or gabapentin?
I don't have brand names. I have VA given stuff, so it's gabapentin.
Yeah, gabapentin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, that's what I'm on for that, and baclofen.
I was talking to a guy earlier, and me and him were just talking, and he's like, "Yeah, man, they got me on gabapentin. I'm on." He goes, "You ain't gonna believe this. I'm on 900 milligrams." I was like, "Hey, shut that! 900 milligrams of gabapentin."
I'm on.
I still have a feeling.
I was like, "Shit!"
Good Lord.
I was on 2,700 milligrams of gabapentin.
So he was taking a baby dose.
And now I'm taking 600 milligrams of pregabalin, which is Lyrica, the highest you can go.
Jesus.
And I'm over there going, what the hell you got to bitch about 900 milligrams? I mean, shit. But
So Travis, you spend half the day taking these freaking medications, for God's sakes, 20 some odd medications.
Pretty much, it's ridiculous, and some of them I take more than once. You know,
They just like put them in a freaking blender and.
but everybody,
doing that.
everyone's going to want to know this question: did you get married?
I did get married. Yeah,
That's a hell of a woman there, man.
even more miraculous, she's still with me.
Okay. So, but the most important thing is, did you list her as a dependent? You know, just in case.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That is the most important thing you need to do for her.
Yep.
Now that's good, Wade. And it's funny because somebody was saying that the other day, that if you don't list them down as a dependent, and something happens,
They got to be listed. Hell yeah, they got to be. I know it's funny, but it's true. It's
Yeah.
I'm not serious about anything, but I am serious.
Right.
Yeah, hell yeah.
What the hell does that
do
make
tell,
sense?
Travis, aside from all the bullshit that you're putting up with because of the vaccines, I got to ask, because I don't know shit about it. Do tell, Mr. Civil Affairs, how exciting of an MOS is that in the freaking military? I just doesn't sound very exciting.
Well, it's kind of, so a lot of people don't quite get what civil affairs does. I had a special forces guy flip me a bunch of shit one time. He's like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, it's not like lawyer stuff. You know what I mean? And I think that's what he was thinking. But basically, you get dislocated civilians out of the way of the war. You feed them. You give them medical attention, that kind of stuff. You work with the host government to create a solution that's more favorable to the U.S. type deal. And
so you're standing down. So you're the kind of guy that's standing. I'm being sarcastic, obviously here, but you're the kind of guy that's standing down like next to the Mexican border, handing them MREs as they come across. Is that it? Is that what you're saying?
That's probably what we would be doing right now. Yeah.
Okay.
But they do have civil affairs they're also attached to like special operations forces
Yeah,
because your special operations are supposed to go in and
we are
make
special
nice with the natives, and if you can't make nice with the natives, then you go ahead and kill them. But you need the civil affairs to go in to bring the resources in to those natives.
Yep.
Exactly. They go in and kind of make nice propaganda.
Yeah. We worked hand in hand with psychological
psychops. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, we were a part of the special operations forces, but.
And then you have somebody come in behind you with a gun. If it don't
That would
work
be
out.
the 82nd. Yeah, that's when the 82nd comes in.
Yeah, we were attached to like different infantry divisions. I think 25th Infantry Division.
Damn, you Army people are mean.
Yeah.
Navy just sends a missile.
Hey, if they...
That's why I didn't join the Army.
Yeah.
Push that button, right? Now fucking push that button.
When we need a couple Volkswagens, Kevin, we'll call you.
Hey, right on, man. Hey, I'll come in a speedboat.
So Travis,
Yeah.
with this VA doctor that, forgive me, I don't recall which doctor had stated there was squalene in the vaccine that you'd received. Did he indicate as to how he knew this information? Do you have any lot numbers from the anthrax vaccines that you received?
Nope. So he was my, so this was before I got into the VA system, right? And I didn't even know it was related at this point. And so he was my outside primary doctor. And but he had some kind of capacity within the VA. And again, I don't know if he did ratings for the VA or what he did, but I know whatever it was, he didn't want to say any more than research this word. And of course, so now here's something for the veterans who haven't applied for their disability yet. Very first thing you do is apply for your disability with the VA. Don't try and get your medical records. Don't do all that stuff. Apply first because they back pay you to that date. And so nobody had told me that. And so I spent almost a year trying to track down my medical records before the Army said, yeah, we don't have them. And so, yeah, I have no lot numbers. I have nothing. All of my medical records are gone. And so
magically
There could
disappeared.
Where did you do your digging into finding those records?
There was 4 different places that they sent me to. So I initially, and I don't remember, this was like 2010, 2011, somewhere around there. But there was 4 different places. So I started with one place and they were like, no, you gotta ask these guys. And of course it was all snail mail, right? I had to fill out a form, send it in, and then I'd get a letter back and say, nope, you gotta talk to these guys. So then these guys, I'd send out a letter or, their request form. They'd send it back. Nope, you got to talk to these guys. So I made my way all the way back around to the very first, this person said to talk to this person, which is where I started from. And they were like, yeah, we don't have them. We lost them. They're gone.
Ain't that magical right there?
Yeah. And then at that point, I was like, well, screw it. I got all this research. I'm just going to turn it in and see what happened. I didn't even think I could apply without my medical records, And
so Travis, how acknowledging is when you got your disability ratings? How did they term it? How did they term it? What was the terminology used for the ratings? Was vaccines in any way, shape, or form mentioned?
No. No.
Well, so you're just currently service connected for your Addisons and other medical conditions?
Yeah. They let the vaccine shit out.
They really haven't really acknowledged too much about it. They just kind of, everything was, it felt like they took a big broom and went, we want to get rid of, you know what I mean? We want to just sweep this under the rug and give him his percentage and send him on his way type deal. And so.
Have you been through any of the registries or through the risk center?
Well, I did talk to my doctor about that PACT Act registry, right? And they did a questionnaire which consisted of, do you believe you were exposed to harmful chemicals? And I said yes, and that was it. And I got a letter in the mail saying that they filed it, but I haven't heard anything back from that yet.
Okay, time out. We're going to stop right there because I'm so glad you just brought that up.
Okay.
Pick me.
I want to tell everybody that I went to the VA and saw my specialist, my neurologist, and let me tell you what I got told. So I'm sitting there and my wife is with me, and I was like, hey, did you look up the Desert Storm stuff? Now that they passed the PACT Act, are y'all learning about it? And he goes, nope. And I asked why. He goes, I'll tell you why. He goes, y'all were exposed to so much stuff that y'all have so many researchers out there, you know, for this, and this. He goes, all of them are arguing amongst themselves that they can't pinpoint to one. So we do not treat the problem because we don't know the problem. We only can treat the symptom.
Yes.
So, which the PACT Act, which when we talked last week with Tim, and he gave the overall on it, basically, the PACT Act is more for being able to file claims. Even more. That's what I learned with my doctor. And so I go Monday to my primary. Oh, and by the way, you know the load of shit that they gave me when I came in there? Because first thing I said to him is, when you talk about my medications that y'all screwed up on and screwed me up. He goes, yeah, that really was a cluster. And I'm like, a cluster? And I said, because I asked him to get off of it. He goes, you can't or you won't be able to walk. I said, then that shit better never happen to me again. You know, and that's a big problem with the doctors. Between that's all they're going to do is, I guess I'm going to learn more next week, because when I go in, because I do this show, I'm going to ask a lot of freaking questions. When that doctor comes in, you ever feel like you're exposed? I'm going to say, stop right there. You know I was exposed. It's in the writing. So why the hell are you asking me? But let's talk about what y'all going to do about what we were exposed to. And I want to get that answer straight from my primary care physician.
But Kevin, they're not going to give you, that's not what they're there for. When I went in for my annual, do you feel like you were exposed? Yes, I was. Check mark. They give you a little slip of paper and they say, call this number. Now they hand you out a form where it's right there for you, the veteran, take it upon yourself, your big boy britches, to pull up, to grab this brochure. And then you turn it over and you read it and you decide where you belong. Are you a Vietnam veteran, an open burn pit, a Gulf War? This pisses me off. A Gulf War veteran that includes Operation Iraqi Freedom and New Dawn, because Operation Iraqi Freedom and New Dawn had the exact same exposures as we did. Not ionizing radiation, no, probably not. Depleted uranium, no, probably not. They have so many registries going on, and I talked to a lady. I'll leave. We'll talk about it the after show. But they feel, and have you read? I sent to you guys today that now the NIH and the VA have collaborated together for this wonderful new 5-year study that we're going to start. It just started this week. 5 years. I am 53 goddamn years old. I'm going to be 58, and I'm on the young side by the time they complete this said study. You know, how old are you going to be, or no, John? How old are you going to be, John? Holy shit. You're going to be damn near.
Wow.
72?
Like
72?
I mean, damn.
So,
I'll be 1 foot in the grave, buddy.
So by the time we get done with yet another study, what the hell is any of this going to do? And this person I spoke with today, they think that it's a good thing because it is helping all the veterans who are coming up beyond from Gulf War and
Helping
beyond.
them how?
I don't
Helping
know.
how?
I'm still trying to have an open mind to this. I haven't had enough time to process it. But we have so many goddamn registries going on. And now, just like you were saying, there's so many researchers doing so many things. They're not going to talk to each other because they all want their own credit of what they're going to find it. We've already, Dr. Haney already signed off on what our problem was, and he's gone. But now they find a new problem. They don't want to take his. So it's a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
But wait, I have some great news and some positive influence on the horizon.
I like positivity.
Operation Truth has band together with our civilian organizations that are continuing to bring to the attention not only our vaccine injured COVID patients, but our vaccine injured civilian and veterans of all vaccine injuries and all toxic exposures that cause chronic illness, because as we're very much aware, it's not just our veteran and service members community that are being affected by toxic exposures. It's water contamination in Ohio from several train derailments across the nation. It's air pollution. It's water pollution at Camp Lejeune. There's several different factors here. So there are civilian sectors working towards a different healthcare model, getting away from the pharmaceutical industry model of let's treat the symptoms instead of the root cause. Finding that root cause, because every environmental toxic exposure attacks the body at a different level. This is why some individuals that go to war come back and are not injured, and some are very much injured. That's why some individuals get the vaccines and are injured and some aren't. There is a reason why these environmental toxic exposures, including vaccinations in this process, cause chronic illness in the body. And we need to find this out. And that is why Operation Truth has band together with our civilian sectors to find this information that our VA and US government refuses to do.
Well, okay, but here's the problem. And that's, I mean, what you're saying is great. But here's the problem. When you've had a vaccine, you could have been exposed to sarin gas, mustard gas, oil rigs, all that combined. What blood marker is going to come up for what? For them guys.
That's the amazing thing, Kevin, about Travis and myself and people in my patient demographic that don't have the environmental factor of war. We are the patient, and the VA and the US government knows this is why they've been collecting data on us since the 90s to determine that difference, to determine what is that genetic difference between those that went to war and those who didn't. What is that presentation in the body of diagnostic versus those that only got the vaccine and those that also have the environmental factors of war. These are the data that they've been collecting and trying to figure this out for a long time. What we are now doing, Operation Truth and other organizations, is pushing them to find the diagnostic and treatment protocol from the research and studies they've already been doing and the data that they've been gathering since the 90s. That's the push that we need, and that's what we've been trying to accomplish through Operation Truth for quite some time now. We just need people to wrap their head around the fact that we have individual immune systems. Every body is different. We need to change our healthcare model to be an individualized healthcare model, do away with everyone is the same, bring in alternative, so-called alternative medicines, plant-based medicines, bring it back to a whole body perspective, and treat chronic illness the way it should be, with finding the root cause instead of just the symptoms. We can do so by finding the root cause analysis. I did so. I presented that to the War-Related Injury and Illness Studies Center in Palo Alto, California, to the top nation specialists at the risk center. They agreed with my analysis. We can do this as a veteran community. We have the power, we have the numbers, we can present it to our US Congress in a way that we must change the system for us all. We just have to do it as a group and combine, and unfortunately, we have not yet done that, but we
Right.
are continuing to fight. And like Kevin, on May 13th, we're hoping to bring a lot of our organizations together to do so in Texas.
Well, and we are going to have a show down in Houston. But Sarah, I guess my biggest thing is will I be on a walker by the time they figure this shit out? That's what I worry about.
Yes, you will be dead. You will be dead.
Let me help you. Let me help you, Kevin. Let me help you, Wade. Let's find out through your root cause analysis what has destroyed your body. Let's find out the proper treatment. You're going to probably have to do a lot of out-of-pocket payment, but that, unfortunately, until we can get the VA and the U.S. government to listen to us, that's the way that you have to do it. You got to take your own health care into your own hands. And if those that can't afford it,
advocate of that. And Sarah, do you remember we had Jim Brown on the show, right?
Right.
Yes.
And not to get into Big Jim's head, but we discussed that Dr. Haley, he broke it down, and he broke it down into 4 separate genome categories. They've known this for years. He can draw your blood, he can draw my blood, not him, but the researchers. They know what your genome type is, they know what my genome type is, and they can tell what I was exposed to and what you have with your vaccine injury. They know how to treat it. That doctor has since, he's gone. They filed his thing because they don't want to admit what they did to us.
Right.
Well, I think the bottom line is so many of us know this, and I will put a shout out to a previous guest, Dr. Garth Nicholson.
Exactly. Thank you.
So for me, when I'm the kind of person who wants to, okay, I'm going to treat a symptom, see if the treatment I'm using works, and then back out of it and see, is there a change? Did something change? And the reason I'm giving Dr. Nicholson a shout out is because, like Wade, like you presented to me, this has been well over a year ago, that the NT factor, that tablets, the mix, whatever. I went off of that because of my chronic fatigue. It worked, and I'm like, is it working or is it a placebo effect? So I went off it, and I've been, I got super fatigued. And so just recently, within the last few days, literally last few days, I went back on it, and the amount of energy that I have has gone up. So that's proved out. So Dr. Nicholson, thank you for all that you've done. So that it's a treatment that even Dr. Nicholson admitted the government doesn't want to acknowledge his findings. Why? Because it cuts into big money, the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah,
and that's what you're against.
It's the same thing with cannabis. But look at what we have accomplished with cannabis.
Right. No,
we have so many barriers and so many boundaries. But guess what? We're going to make change because that's the only thing we can do. Until we die, somebody has to stand up. That's what we're doing right now. We're coming together. We're making change, not just talking about it. But when it comes to Travis and I, and any other chemical that you're exposed to, you can determine what that list of ingredients of that chemical is. And by doing the root cause analysis, determining what that looks like in the body, we have already known by every chemical in the natural world how that presents in the body. We know what squalene looks like in the body. We know what the aluminum adjuvant looks like in the body. We know what depleted uranium. All of these things can be presented in the body and be looked at by an analysis standpoint to determine how it's presenting in your body. And by doing that, you can determine what the proper treatment is.
So I got a question for you, Sarah. Like Travis said, Travis said he's on upwards of like 20 medications. Are you in the same realm of large amounts of medications trying to fight your issues?
No, get this. Because of the nature of what is caused in my immune system, because every individual is different, I am allergic to every pharmaceutical intervention my medical team has tried, from gabapentin to nortriptyline to Sudafed. While I was on active duty, Sudafed was my very first allergic reaction. It landed me in the ER from the side effects. So every class of drug I have tried or if I have allowed my medical team to try, including antibiotics, I've had an allergic reaction that has landed me in the ER. So cannabis is the only medication I can take. I use it in many different forms, and we've talked about that quite often at quite lengths. And there's a reason for that. We have an endocannabinoid system. There's a reason why the endocannabinoid system is important in our bodies, especially for those suffering from chronic illness when it comes to balancing the body and creating homeostasis. And we will be talking about that more at our May 13th Texas event.
Okay, well, I got that. So Travis, is Addison's curable?
You with us, Travis?
Not yeah, I'm here. Not as far as modern medicine will say.
Correct. Okay, and see, just like neuropathy is not curable.
Yeah, I mean, it's so over 90% of my adrenal cortex is eaten away. It's gone. So
right, and see, and this is where the problem where I have it, Travis, and Sarah. This is the problem I have. They can go in and they can cure maybe me being tired and the fogginess and the tremors and all that stuff, but they can't cure the damage that they already did. And I guess that's the problem I'm having with it. I just don't want the younger generation that's coming up fighting for our country to go through what we're going through, to one day have a thing going Afghanistan podcast, side effects, or, Russia, Ukraine side effects show, I don't want them to have to do that show. And that's why the sooner that we hold them accountable and the sooner that they could come out and admit what we were exposed to, the faster it can be cured. Because all mine could have been cured if they just would have told us.
So Travis, do you while you're in Washington State and it's legal there, do you utilize cannabis? Does it help you?
Yeah. So I actually, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do like gummies is what I do, and like my system is really sensitive to it. So like if I take a half a gummy, I'm good, right? And it helps me sleep, it helps me relax, that kind of stuff. If I take a whole gummy, I'm throwing it all up and
oh wow, really?
It's totally, yeah. And I don't know if it's because of all the other crap I'm on or not, but it does help me relax. It does help me get to sleep faster. Now staying asleep, that's another story. I still struggle with that quite a bit, but
you on a CPAP by chance?
Yeah.
You are.
Okay. Well, I can tell you right now, half a gummy, I eat a large pizza. I want some, I want some chips.
I would just like to state to be cautious when using cannabis, especially when taking in edibles. When eating edibles or consuming edibles, it changes the THC to be a higher THC concentrate in your liver. And when you're taking all these different pharmaceuticals, they're going through an organ, whether it's a filter organ, everything goes through your stomach, obviously, because it's in a pill form, correct? Not an injectable or otherwise. So be mindful of, the counterindication, that word that you, the possibility of some medications removing the effectiveness of others. There are a lot of medications that can do that for cannabis, especially if you are taking any pharmaceuticals that have to do with depression or anxiety.
No, let me tell you, I agree with you on that. But I tell you what, when they don't send you your anxiety medicine or depression medicine, And I don't take mine for PTSD. Mine's all for nerve pain. But when they forget it after 4 days, I'm telling y'all right now, you will be calling the crisis hotline, crying for no reason and all that shit. And a half of a gummy will take care of that shit.
That's good. As long as you're not taking them together, because they will counteract each other, and it could put more strain on your organs.
So it's really interesting to me because Sarah, Travis, you guys have, the vaccine injury, and Travis, your and Sarah's symptoms, or I shouldn't say symptoms, but how you treat them. She's allergic, whereas you're taking a crazy amount of medications. And how often, so for those, not that any of us enjoy taking the damn pills or whatever, but how often have you tried to back out of the things that might not going to kill you, but
Yeah, so I tried doing that with some of the fibromyalgia medication because I really didn't feel like it was working too well. And of course, they're ones that you kind of got to titrate off of, right?
Right.
However, after I would say 4 days or so of stepping down, I was in way more pain than on it. And so even though when I was on it, I didn't feel like it was doing much because I'm still in a lot of pain. When I started dosing down, the pain was that much worse. And so I think they are doing something for me. It's just,
because
I just have a hard time trying to understand how the human body. I mean, you've been diagnosed with this Addison, and I understand you got to have, there's certain medications you have to take to stay alive. I completely get that. I struggle with the idea of how, when you're on so many medications, how does your body know how to adjust to that much variation?
man,
I agree.
it's amazing, man. It's amazing what your body can do.
That's usually why you have to take 5 other pills to counteract the side effects of your body going through those pills.
Right. I mean,
That's the way it was. Like I started out in just taking the stuff for my thyroid, which was also destroyed by the vaccine, and then the stuff for the Addison. So I think you're looking at 4 pills, I think. Just to
Could you speak to a little bit more about your thyroid issue? I find that a parallel that seems to be an issue with a lot of our chronic multi-symptom illness patients, especially the vaccine injured.
Yeah, so it was actually, other than the skin and the weird feet thing, it was the first thing to present itself. And it's a hypothyroidism. Basically, the thyroid just isn't producing what it should be. And
Hyper or hypo?
Oh, yeah, hypo. And so they put me on, I think it was Synthroid initially, and now it's levothyroxine. But and what's weird is recently, like I was going through really bad sweats and really jittery and stuff, and my endocrinologist found out that all of a sudden my body was producing more the stuff that it's supposed to from the thyroid, right?
Your TSH?
Yeah. And then so she stepped me down. I was still jittery, and she stepped me down one more. And it seems to be leveled out now. But I mean, we're talking since 2003 until just end of last year, start of this year. That's a long time to be on the same dose of the same medicine, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my body adjusted or started working, or I don't know, and so then she had to step me down on the medication. But a lot of the same symptoms. I mean, it was real fatigue.
Do you recall adding in cannabis into your regimen at that time?
No, I did not.
Okay.
And one thing I learned, hyper and then hypo means slow, correct?
Correct.
I learned that in a medical book that my wife's studying. I just want to let y'all know I knew something in the medical field.
Helping out with the flashcards again. Yeah.
You read that in a coloring book.
No, I'm serious, man. My wife's about to graduate nursing school, and
There you go.
And then
So
you didn't let me finish, man.
I know I jumped right all over you. I'm sorry.
All right, no. Well, what we're gonna do is we're about to hit into the after the show and everything. So I want to give everybody about a minute, and I'm gonna start with John. John, you got anything you'd like to add?
No, but I will say, Travis, make sure you just hang tight after we say goodbye. We do this. I don't know how many of our shows you watch. We do it after the show, because what I want to ask you is, as a non-serious question, I want to listen to, being as you're in civil affairs, I want to hear some fucked up stories that you have to tell us about from civil affairs, because we all have really weird stories, and that's kind of thing. I mean, I want to get off the serious shit for a while, because I mean, it gets a little depressing. It's upsetting. So I want to hear about some funny shit, because we all have funny shit. I'm not a good storyteller.
We can always ask Sarah some more. Sarah, you got anything you'd like to add?
Well, I just wanted to add the reason why I brought up the thyroid, not only because we have a lot of same patterns of behavior between our vaccine injured and other chronic multi-symptom illness patients, is because I have that same issue. I don't have hyperthyroidism. I don't have hypothyroidism. There is no indicators of having either of those, but I do have several cysts in my thyroid, indicating that there is a problem, but it's not showing up on my labs, which is another indicator that cannabis is working. It's effective. It's causing that balance within the system. It's showing in my labs. Another indicator that I saw last year when I was at the University of Washington being seen by their rheumatologist, they saw a biomarker that an anti-inflammatory biomarker that they've never seen before, something that they explained to combat the lupus that was expressing in my labs. And that is another indicator that cannabis is potentially doing its job as well. But without further research, we will never know. And that is why it's so important that we continue to fight our U.S. government, continue to fight the VA, and bring this attention to our fellow veterans, bring this attention to our fellow patient community, and bring them be aware that there are other alternatives to the pharmaceutical healthcare model of today. So thank you, Travis, for joining us today and bringing this to our attention, that vaccine injury is very much real and we need to do something about it.
Wade?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring this up real quick while we had a quick minute. I've been seeing a lot of these Gulf War illness websites, and I've talked to several Gulf War veterans, especially since the PACT Act has come out, where I think there's some confusion where they feel like that even if they're at 100%, maybe they're collecting unemployability, whatever, that even if new things have come out, they think they need to file. Even when they're at 100%, and as we know, talking to the VSOs, that's a really bad idea. And I'll use myself as an example. So if I'm at 100%, I have prostate cancer. That is a new presumptive on the burn pit list for cancer of sexual reproduction. I would be a fool to go ahead and file for that, because that would just do nothing but open up my previous claims that I'm already at my 100%. But I will continue to be treated for said prostate cancer. The VA is going to treat me. They're going to treat me for my migraine headaches. They're going to treat me for A, B, and C. I don't need to file a new claim to try to get above 100. 100's 100's 100. Okay. Some people think they need validation. Okay. I'm sorry, you cannot eat validation, and all you're going to do is open up Pandora's box. So just go on with your treatment. Do what you got to do. But 100's 100 is 100. That's all I got.
I like that. 100. Travis, you have any last words of wisdom?
I'm very not full of wisdom.
Me neither.
I mean, well, do you mind if I plug my book?
Yeah, go ahead. Talk about it.
So I got a book about my experience. It's called Friendly Fire, The Betrayal of One Soldier by the Government. And
cool.
anywhere where you could buy a book. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, y'all go check it out, man. I think it's awesome. I'm glad y'all. I can't write a book. I can't even write a children's book. Hell, I can't even read one. I mean,
Man.
I mean, just saying, I don't
It took
like
me
reading.
6 or 7 years to write this book, and it was mainly the mental block of walking myself through all the, near death and all that again. So, but luckily I can write, so that's not a problem. But
Very cool.
And the only thing that I can, that I will put my words of wisdom in is don't give up. Veterans,
Don't give up.
connect. Start connecting with one another. If it just seems like the only time you hear about veterans is Memorial Day, July 4th, Veterans Day.
right.
For veterans, it should be every day for us, connecting with each other, understanding one another, helping each other. And so that's my words of wisdom. I want to thank everybody. And now we're going to go into the after show. Y'all have a great night. Thank y'all. Thank you for listening to Go For Side Effects. If you have a story or you would like to share or just come on with any comments or questions, please email me at kevinsimon@goforsideeffects.com.